Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me for another Tales from the Crypt review. Today it is Season 1, Episode 4, Only Sin Deep, directed by Howard Deutsch and starring Lea Thompson as Sylvia Vane. And once again, there will be episode spoilers. And in my opinion, this is an average episode. It's not as strong as the first 3 episodes, but it has a decent mood at times, and it's okay overall, I would say. The concept is actually pretty decent. I would say the execution is average. So this episode starts with a streetwalker. Her name is Sylvia. She's our main character. And things don't seem to be going too well for her, as you could probably guess. And things get worse when she decides she's going to basically rob a guy. And there's a struggle for the gun that she's holding to rob him with. And eventually she ultimately kills him. So she decides now she's going to sell all the jewelry and things that she got from this guy to make some money and hopefully make things better for herself. So she goes to this weird, mysterious looking shop. I do have to say the shop is appropriately creepy. And during her time at the shop, this woman walks in and yells at the shopkeeper and tells her that he stole something and she wants it back, which will be a setup for later in the episode. But ultimately the shopkeeper doesn't want to buy this stuff, but he does says he's interested in something else that Sylvia has, which is her face. He'll give her $10,000 to make a mold of her face, which is pretty creepy and disturbing, but Sylvia doesn't think much of this, so she decides she'll go along with it. So the shopkeeper does make a mold of her face. Sylvia gets the money and she leaves, and then we see the shopkeeper talking to someone. It's a lady who's a skeleton. She's basically a dead body, and he tells her she'll be back to her old self at some point, so we know something more sinister is going on. Then we get this really odd scene that I didn't really care for, where Sylvia's like trying on all these different clothes. I guess she's giving herself a makeover, basically. It has this kind of happy, corny music behind it too that doesn't really fit with the tone of the rest of the episode, but whatever. It doesn't really kill the episode. I just thought it was strange. So then Sylvia goes to this party where she meets this guy named Ronnie, and they like each other, but they're playing games with each other. They're basically flirting, but ultimately they wind up together. So we go 4 months into the future at this point, and Sylvia and Ronnie are now a couple. The problem is that Sylvia notices that her face is now aging, as there was a 4-month deadline on her cashing back in, basically, on the mold on her face, I guess. That's how I interpreted it anyway. So anyway, Ronnie's going to be going out of town for a little bit, so this gives Sylvia a little bit of time to fix her problem. So Sylvia goes to this doctor. She wants to know what's wrong with her face. And all the doctor can deduce is that her skin is aging a lot. He doesn't really have a particular reason for this, but he asks her to think back if anything weird, like that she was in contact with or anything strange happened. So naturally, Sylvia thinks back to the shopkeeper and the mold. So at this point, Sylvia goes back to the shop, but the shopkeeper tells her there was a 4-month limit, and she's like 1 day late. Of course, because in the plot it has to be like that. It's always just missed the deadline there, but it was fine. So he basically tells her he can fix it, but it'll cost her $100,000 this time. I'm not really sure how he would fix it. It's never really made clear, but I guess it's not that important. So Sylvia goes back to the place where she lives, and she goes absolutely crazy. She's looking for the money she needs. I guess she's going to sell all her jewelry and stuff, it looks like. And, she's just basically breaking things. The only problem is that Ronnie comes back, and Sylvia basically shoots him. I'm not really sure why she shot him. I guess she just panicked. Sylvia is not one of the smarter television characters, as I like to put it in a nice way. So basically she goes back to the shopkeeper, and the shop is closed, but she goes through this other door. It looked like another door. I wasn't really 100% sure on this. And she sees all these different face molds, and then she sees the woman who was a skull before, who now has her natural face back. And the shopkeeper says he keeps the woman's face that way. I think it was his ex-wife, by making these molds of other women. I'm not really clear if she's still stays dead, I guess, and he just keeps her face that way. I guess that's the premise here. It works fine. So anyway, Sylvia still wants her face back. So she says, I have the money, the $100,000. He says, I can give you your beauty back. But then he shows her a paper where it shows that Sylvia is wanted for murder. Apparently she left the murder weapon behind with fingerprints on it. So basically, if she gets her old face back, she'll be in trouble. She'll be wanted for murder. So Sylvia's upset, and she leaves with her face mold. She realizes now that she has to keep her face the way it is, looking a lot older. And I have to say the old age makeup is so-so in this episode. It's okay, it works, but it's not the most convincing makeup I've ever seen. But they had a TV budget to work with at the time, so I'll let it go at that. And at one point, she's back out in the street where she started, but she breaks the mold of her face. And that's basically how the episode ends. Sylvia is going to be staying this way, and things aren't going to turn out too well for Sylvia. So this episode overall, like I said, it's fine. It's nothing spectacular. It's nothing really terrible either. The mood is okay for the most part, although I think there are a few strange kind of corny scenes that don't really fit with the rest of the episode. But overall, only Sin Deep is an average episode, and I give it 2.5 out of 5. And episode fans might enjoy watching once. Others, I don't really think it's an essential episode. So 2.5 out of 5 for Only Sin Deep, and as always, thank you very much for watching.